Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, welcome. And thank you so very much for being with us again. I'm going to assume that you may have joined Mr. Benny Wallington and me, I'm Kim Serafini, on one of these beautiful journeys before. And if you haven't, then you're in for a treat. And we encourage you to also go and listen to some of the other great stories we've heard by interviewing magnificent human beings like the lady we have with us here today. Miss Elaine Sugar is actually in the United States of America whilst Benny and I are down under. It is winter for us. So for those of you who are tuning in, it's why we look like we're all warm and snuggled up, whereas most of the people who are in the Northern Hemisphere are enjoying a leisurely summer. So Elaine, this is such a delight. You are a remarkable human being. You've achieved so very much. You have this perspective from the banking and finance industry, which I think some people think is super scary, in a very sophisticated market. And yet the real work that you're now doing on the planet is rich and involved, and it's about helping others to share their strengths and gifts and talents. And you're absolutely at the forefront of one of the other very progressive industries where the spotlight is well and truly on wellness and health from a much broader perspective: healthy bodies, healthy minds, healthy spirits, healthy environments, healthy cultures, healthy families. And so I don't want to really take very much more away from that. Benny, there is an official way to introduce Elaine rather than my, woo, she's just fabulous. And I'm so grateful that our friend Jackie Simmons introduced us. So Benny, let everybody who's listening in or watching know a bit more about Elaine.
Thanks, Kim. Magical as always, so much energy. We feel positively primed every time Kim gives an introduction like that. It's in the blood. So, Elaine Sugar is a mental wellness advocate and founder of MAPS Global Events, a non-profit which hosts mental wellness events and provides wellness resources. Elaine is extremely passionate for supporting the next generation to thrive as a best-selling children's author and self-esteem program facilitator. And she has a particular love for teaching children the value of positive thinking and speaking. And one of the core parts of Elaine's magnificent is not to eat more sugar, it's to practice more sugar, aka the acronym. And that is saying unforgettable, good affirmations regularly. Beautiful. And of course, Elaine is a Positive Prime author with her wonderful session, Be Empowered for Vibrant Living. So welcome, Elaine. And thank you for your session. I was just watching it before this morning. I was doing a bit of a Kim Serafini technique. Sometimes Kim will be like doing a meeting or something like that and have Positive Prime running in the background. And it was amazing because I've had a bit of a flat morning and it really picked me up to have it in my periphery. So thank you so much. And I was getting your little notes of or positive affirmations, you know, like little bit hits of sugar while I was in the meeting. So yeah, I'd love to just welcome you. And also to start there, let's start with the sugar. Where does that come from? And tell us a bit about your story.
Sure. So it comes from having two of the most phenomenal parents in the world. But I must thank you all for the introduction. It was like watching a Positive Prime session. So thank you. Yeah, it came from just being blessed to have two phenomenal parents. And I wanted to honor them in the work that I do with children because they gave me such a wonderful foundation of values and love. So I wanted to name some part of my company Sugar, but I'm like, it has so many negative connotations. So I'm like, why don't we change what it means? So in studying brilliant people like Joe Dispenza and Dr. Bruce Lipton, understanding the power of positive thinking, I said, why don't I make Sugar an acronym? Because I really feel like we've undersold the power of positive thinking to children in schools. I think it should be incorporated. I think adults should have a better understanding of its value. So once I finished doing my research, I said, really, kids need more sugar, which is saying unforgettable good affirmations regularly, because of the positive impacts on the brain. So that's how that all started. It was twofold.
What happened when you first saw Positive Prime sessions, and what did your beautiful mind do in terms of making the linkages about this technological solution to delivering positive affirmations that are truly memorable and that have an opportunity to be integrated into the identity. I want to hear in your words what you actually thought when you first saw it. And then as you really got to understand and appreciate the science behind it, what then evolved for you in the way that you were thinking and feeling about your positive prime session? So take us on a journey there.
Sure. So me in studying on my own, learning what I could about positive thinking and positivity, I felt like I was just scratching the surface. And they have that quote, when the student is ready for the lesson, the teacher appears. That's how I felt like Positive Prime was for me, because I started on this journey of just studying things at home and learning. And I'm like, wow, people don't understand the magnitude of making sure your brain is in a positive place. And then Positive Prime comes along and basically not just reinforces what I had already learned, but then gives me this scientific proof that it works, but in a beautiful, easily accessible, non-intimidating way. Like, I just need you to sit here, relax, and watch it. And so for me, it was like a gift, but it was like a mentor showed up to say, hey, put this with what you've already learned, and now you can take it to a whole nother level. So what it enables me to do with children and adults when I speak about the power of positivity is it gives me credibility without me having to do the work. So thank you, Kim.
Oh, you're a sweetheart. Do you know, I think all of us look for ways that we can legitimize those subjects that we're really passionate about and we're believing in, and we want everybody else to adopt it because we've got this enthusiasm that we're transferring. And yet sometimes we're met with people who they're a little more conservative, or they're a little more skeptical and cynical, and they kind of need to be convinced with some cold hard facts. And so you're absolutely right. It's easy to dismiss because it looks so simple. Oh, it's just, some pretty pictures flashing by. Well, actually. And so what I love is that you arrived here with all of the precursor foundational understanding from masters like Bruce Lipton. Like, what a gorgeous human being he is, and how courageous he's been for so long. All right, so what actually got you into the place and space where you were allowing yourself to bring in people like Bruce Lipton into your life? I'm actually really curious.
Sure. So for me, it was my love and my passion for helping children. So it was doing research. All right, how do I help them more? And I got this extra motivation during the COVID pandemic shutdown because the news was just filled with people reporting that really children were struggling right now and adults were struggling right now. So I couldn't volunteer with children in the way I did before because I did it in person. I literally had a classroom after school, and I used to teach children self-esteem building, confidence building courses. And I couldn't do that. What I can do, focus on what I can control, is I can start an online program for children. Tell them to hop on the Zoom with me and let's have some positive moments. So I started this Papa Positivity Club. And I needed to do research. I wanted to know how to reach them, how to connect with them even online. And I started researching, and I'm getting all this information from Bruce Lipton's research and Joe Dispenza's statistics. And I'm like, wow, all those years I've been teaching children and I didn't even have this information. So we can really do something now. And so that's what it was. I was, looking for a way to help children even more, and went out on a research, road and learned a lot of things along the way that helped me. And that's what I love about Positive Prime, is it's effective for children and adults. Love that.
Elaine, you managed to pull together one of the biggest online events on the planet. I mean, the numbers of speakers that you've got and the numbers of people in the audience is truly remarkable. How did you leap from just doing research to pulling in the most incredible range of people to help you? Tell us a little bit about MAPS, right?
Yes. So MAP stands for hyphenated mental wellness, affirmations, and positivity support. So part of the thing I was doing was out promoting this online children's club, right? And as I would go out and promote and say, hey, here's what we're doing for children, people would often ask me, well, what are you doing for adults? And if you teach the children and you don't teach their families, their parents, then it's going to be harder for the children to carry out the things that you teach them. I'm like, oh, that's a good point. So what do I do? So internally, I'm asking myself that question, but I'm continuing to go out and network and promote the online friends club, tell them to bring their kids to this Papa Positivity call, right? And I'm meeting some of the most passionate, experienced people, just as I'm going to places to network. At the same time, like a lot of people, I'm listening to the news and they're saying that people are hurting. They don't know what to do right now. The stress is too much. And I'm thinking, this is crazy because I know people who can help you. It was so frustrating to me and it was just laid on my heart. I tell people it was like there was somebody dying of thirst on one side of the street and there was somebody with water on the other side of the street. And I wanted to say, just come together in the middle of the street and meet each other. So that is literally how this event started. Not that it was my background, not that I had experience in hosting global events. It was just nagging me. I tell people, honestly, it was laid on my heart. And I absolutely know 100% that I did not have a background in hosting global events. But what I have always believed in is synergy. And I know it was laid on my heart to do it. So I always believed that the right people would show up at the right time. And that's how this event happened. The right people showed up at the right time.
I love it. We know that, don't we, Benny? And for those of you who are listening, I hope that you just heard, when you are moved from within and you've listened to the whispering, you've been gifted with an idea or some inspiration, have some faith that that was a blessing and that it's yours to do something positive and proactive with. And know that the people who are going to support you to bring it to life will show up when you step up, right? And I love that W.H. Murray quote that says, once you are committed, Providence moves too. And he was writing actually about summiting Mount Everest. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes I'll come to a moment as well, Elaine, where I'll think, am I really committed to this? Where there is commitment, there isn't hesitancy. It means that you'll do it absolutely no matter what. And that for me is why I think our spirits sparked together, because that's what Positive Prime is for me. If it was a charity, I'd still do it. If it was, and I could finish the sentence in 100 other ways and always complete with, I'd still do it. I can't help it. It was who I was born to be, right? Elaine, Benny also has this incredible commitment to helping other people, like everybody else who's involved in our community. Somehow we were born to be the helpers and the healers, the people who encourage others, the people who lift others up, people who actually help others to understand that they have these talents that they can develop and share. Benny, what is it about Elaine and her work that really has you thinking right now? I know that there's something stirred within.
Yeah, it's magical that you've listened to the call and you've actually found yourself in that flow state. People talk about flow states as individualistic a lot of the time, but what actually happens is my favorite type of flow is group flow. And that's what you've experienced, where you come into resonance and you come into synergy, and then the things unfold and it becomes easier for you. It becomes easier, So it's like, but it doesn't mean it doesn't become like smaller, it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. And maybe that's sometimes scary, but when you've got people around you,
that's right,
you get so much done. And that's magical. And there's one question I've got for you around, perhaps, because I'm super interested in lineage and that glowing idea that I've got about your parents and your upbringing. I want to know, what's an affirmation that or something that you were taught as a child from your parents that stuck with you, that unforgettable line? Because I love that, unforgettable.
You know what? It might not be what you think, but it's the one that came to mind first. So I'll share it. My father used to always tell me as a child, always take care of your mother. And so that just stuck with us. And he would say, even if something happens and me and your mother are on different sides, you always stick with your mother, always take care of her. And so I always felt this personal responsibility with Joy to take care of her and make sure she was taken care of. He happened to pass away first. He was saying this when he was healthy, well before he ever got, sick. So that was always ingrained in us once we started to see that he wasn't going to be around long. So we had that ingrained, but as he was on his deathbed, we had more time where he wasn't working and we weren't running, and we would get to talk to him. And one of the questions I asked him was, why did you always say that? Why was that always so important for you? Wouldn't you want somebody to be on your side? And he said, you have a good mother, and a good mother will always have the children respect the father. So I didn't have to worry about me. She would make sure you took care of me. I made sure you took care of her. I'm like, what a wise man, who I think probably only went to the 8th grade, I believe, but just a beautiful human being. And I tell people all the time, I don't know how it was that I was blessed to have 2 phenomenal parents, but nonetheless, that's what I had. So that's why I incorporated the name Sugar in my company. I just love to honor them. I have lots of appreciation.
Isn't that beautiful, Benny? And so rare. So many people, I believe, have these stories that they perpetuate and maybe even blow out of proportion about how one parent was either disappointing or frustrating or let them down, and or indeed wasn't the greatest of role models and so forth. And then they actually substantiate that and they convince themselves and then others that that was in fact the truth. And it may have been the truth, but it may not also. I love that you just shared that. Do you know, it almost makes me cry because my father was very similar. If my brother and I, and there's only 2 of us, if we were ever, in some kind of complex fight with mum, my father used to say things like, please do not speak to my wife like that. Now, he never referred to her as our mother. He actually referred to her as his wife. And I think that what he really tried to show was that when you are loyal to somebody, you protect them and you stand up for them. And it doesn't matter who's right or wrong. It's just the principle of the matter that being at war with somebody else is just never appropriate. It's never okay. It's never allowed, and he held us as responsible little humans who were conscious of our ability to make a choice and listen to that. And that's actually also interesting role modeling that I haven't really thought about until you just shared that story.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing. That's beautiful.
I love that too, Kim. If I could just tie it into a little bit of positive prime, because I'm having a bit of a channel here with a bit of resonance with you guys. Like you said, a lot of people think that their parents, like, they didn't bring me up as well as my friend's parents or these other like bullshit celebrity role model things that we've got going on still. But there's always glimpses of positivity, and unless the wound is really deep, which I know it is for a lot of people, and it's not accessible. But for me, I'm thinking about it like, how do I incorporate something that my dad's done for me into my positive prime session? That was really beautiful because he spent most of his weekends driving me to sport practice and through the week, So how do I incorporate that in? And then what does that do for now my ongoing relationship with my dad? Because I don't call him very often. I probably should. He's pretty lonely, I see him every day. What's the ripple effect going to be? So I'm so grateful for you, Elaine, and for your story as well, Kim, because I hope that is.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us. Beautiful.
It is. When we're all allowing ourselves to be raw and real, we all connect much more deeply. We hope that you will feel that, for those of you who are listening and watching, and maybe something's sparked within you. Share it with us. Let us know. And then one of the other things that I would love for us to discuss, Elaine, is in this precious moment, could you give us all something that we can physically do and or mentally, emotionally do, that helps us to boost our own self-esteem? And maybe what is it that we could do for somebody else that helps them have their self-esteem boosted? Because one of the other stories I think about my parents, and certainly I've heard lots of my clients say this, is that my parents didn't believe in me. They didn't make me believe that I could do anything on the planet, that I could be president or go to the moon or whatever, be an astronaut, right? So I grew up certainly in a society that was very English, the stiff upper lip. You don't really show all that much emotion. You certainly don't, snuggle, hug your children publicly. That was definitely the society. But I also remember overhearing someone say something nice about me. And I actually overheard one of my parents say to that person, "Oh, don't say that too loudly. It might go to her head." Right? And so I think that there is a whole generation maybe, and I don't know if it's actually just generational, but there is a societal aspect. Here in Australia, it might be worse than other places on the planet. But building up other people's self-esteem was somehow related to helping people to become egotistical, selfish or self-centered, and quite frankly, bordering on narcissistic. So Elaine, how do we flip that, right? How do we tell us what you know so that we can all be at peace with one of the most important jobs that we can be doing is actually lifting others up and helping them to feel their own personal power?
Yes. So this is one of the questions I get asked most reluctantly. Like, people don't want to ask me, but they want to know, and they somehow break through. It's like a lot of times it's related to their children. If I teach my children to say all these wonderful, positive things about themselves, then they might become, egotistic. They might think too highly of themselves. They might become conceited. So I say, look at the numbers. When you have a negative statement, or you have a negative thought, the power that has over a positive statement is insane. I think they said it takes something like 70 times. You have to tell yourself something positive 70 times to reverse one negative statement. So when you do those numbers, you can't say enough positive things to your friends, to your children. And then I believe it's Bruce Lipton that says 90% of the messages that children receive are negative. That's insane. 90% are negative. So even if you just say you don't want your child to be conceited and you're afraid that all this positive talk and teaching them this positive self-talk is going to make them this unbearable, conceited person, just do the work to balance it out then. 90% of the things you say to them, make them positive, and then do the numbers. Every time somebody says something negative to them, you need to tell them 73 positive things. Just look up those facts. That shifts all of those misperceptions. And you're not telling them or teaching them to say affirmations and positive things about themselves to blow up their ego. You're teaching them those things so that they can program their life. I saw this quote. It said, program yourself or be programmed. You only have two choices. You can program your children or you can have somebody else do it for you. And if we leave it to society, 90% of their programming, unfortunately, is going to be negative. And the other thing I say is, don't attempt to do any of this alone. A lot of times, especially when you have a first-time parent, they call aunts, they call uncles, they join parenting groups, and they ask for help in things. Do the same thing if you're struggling with how to balance this positive thinking. Just like you have to teach them about money. You want them to be given, but you have to teach them to save, right? It can sound like a conflict, but it's not. It's about balance. Mm-hmm. Does that help?
Yeah, it does. It does. And do you know, of course, with Positive Prime, one of the fascinating things about me watching your session, Elaine, is that you are the author. And so it's your wisdom, your suggestions, your recommendations, your insights, and it's also your beautiful, caring, compassionate nature, energy that's actually being shared with me. And I can almost guarantee to myself that if I'm just simply on speed 1 or 2 and I'm watching. There's one that you have that I hit my targets. This is a perfect example, right? Kim Serafini, the human Kim Serafini, does not go around every day saying to myself at least 1,000 times a day, I hit my targets, right? Mm-hmm. I hit my targets. Mm-hmm. But Elaine, she says, I hit my targets. And so what I think is fascinating about asking others to help you, which you actually get in a very organic way by watching lots of different positive prime sessions, yes, is that I can have some greater influences over my own self-talk because I'm repeating the absolutely magnificent words that Elaine is offering to me, and or indeed lots of the other authors that are appearing on the Positive Prime platform, because you say things that never even occurred to me, right? Beautiful. So I was just listening then, and that's absolutely the truth. I mean, it's absolutely the truth. We have a survival instinct, and as a consequence, we as human beings, particularly the parenting human being or the caregiver, is trying to prevent somebody from getting hurt, a child, so that they actually survive. It's our pure survival instinct, right? And that's one of the reasons why 90% is absolutely overbearing. Yes. So, Elaine, it is true that we take in 11 million bits of information via our senses in every single second, but we attenuate to only 40. And we are also naturally in this place as human beings where we pay greater attention to that which we think is a threat. But here's the other side of the survival instinct that I think that not very many people have actually really started to promote out there. And, you know, you see all of these things cited like, oh, that's your survival instinct. We have an equal survival instinct for connection, for sociability, for being with other human beings, right? And so one of the things that I love about your work is that you get people together who are helping to amplify positivity so that we can actually overpower all of the negativity, but it actually means that we need to be together, right?
Yes. It's the definition of synergy. I remember the first time I saw someone with a slide in a presentation and they had 1 + 1 = 4. And I'm like, what is wrong with them? Everybody, or 1 + 1 = 3. That's what it was. 1 + 1 = 3. And I'm like, what? Everybody knows 1 + 1 = 2. And then when they talked about synergy, I mean, everybody knows that you can do more with 2 people. So if you get a whole community of people together who are powerful and passionate, you can change the world. It's true. It's true.
It is true. You know, the other thing about children being conceited, here's a perspective I know that you share. So you can actually have children repeat to themselves, I am kind and caring, I am thoughtful and considerate. I am kind and caring, I am thoughtful and considerate. Yes. And there is no child who repeats that 70 times who's going to end up conceited. And one of the interesting things that, of course, I learned in my research as I was putting together, you know, the formula for positive prime sessions is that our brains will go in search of the evidence to prove to ourselves what is right, because we have this insatiable appetite to be right, right? As part of also our reptilian brain, our survival instinct, our humanity. And so the crazy thing is that if I believe that I am kind and caring and I am thoughtful and considerate, I will literally go out of my way to make sure that I'm in resonance and in alignment with my identity. And so I will participate in all sorts of actions that bring into reality the evidence that I need to substantiate that belief I have about myself being kind and being compassionate, right? And so, Elaine, the work that you're doing is just really, truly beautiful. How do we all help you do more of this kind of work, right? I think that everybody's like, oh, yes, maybe I could start a Pop of Positivity afternoon class with the children in my area. What is it that your work sparks in others? How can we help you? Because it is a mission worth getting behind and getting involved in.
Yes. And one of the things I do in a presentation I give, you talked about the brain loving evidence. So I introduce affirmations when I'm talking to adults that are not parents. Sometimes you say, like, we have people who are skeptical, right? So I start with the science, but then I end up putting them in a courtroom setting. And I say, think of yourself as an attorney, because your brain will tell you things that are not true, right? It says things, it gives you doubt, and it's just making it up. It's not even the case. So I said, you wouldn't dare see an attorney go to court and not present evidence. Like if they have proof that something isn't true. So I tell people, add to your affirmations. I am healthy because I walked a mile today. I am graduating from college because I made a B on my test last week. Incorporate evidence into your affirmation. You don't go to court and say, this person did not steal the apple, and then have video footage of the person paying for the apple and leaving the store and not show it. You would never go to court and have evidence and not take it and present it. So when you are saying your affirmations, present the evidence.
Woo! That is a massive aha. It is so fresh and unique. I have never heard anything like that before, right? I love it. I am so amazing because, right? Adding that word because. I love it, Elaine.
Yes, state the evidence. No attorney goes to court and has proof in their briefcase and not strut around the court with an attitude.
Yeah, right.
Yes. So to your point, everyone can have a pop of positivity. I tell people corporations have a pop of positivity. And if you don't want to call it that because we need to be more stuffy, right? Then you have a meeting and you have those positive moments, incorporate those. Is there anyone that wants to thank someone for what they've done? Is there anyone that wants to share something that they were able to accomplish? Those are those moments of positivity. I know that some people are shy and you kind of have to not put people on the spot, but there's a way that you can incorporate this into any session, whether it's at the dinner table, it's in a boardroom, or you're on a Zoom call with a bunch of kids. And I wear a ridiculous looking hat on my call just so the kids have fun. It's got all kind of colors and fake jewels on it, and just to make kids laugh. And I have whistles and things that glow in the dark. We have fun. But it's just about taking that moment, because there are so many people who could use, as they say, a little good news. And sometimes you having that moment of positivity, sharing that with them, that makes a difference to a person. There are people who are carrying weight. There are people who are considering starting something that could benefit the world, but they might have doubt. You could be that person to spread that little bit of positivity that makes the difference. I'm sure we've all heard athletes tell stories about someone who encouraged them. We've heard people who are struggling to put great things into the world and they thought about giving up, and somebody comes along and gives them a positive push or a shove. So it matters. Words matter. Supporting each other matters. We can all help with positivity. So we are globally spreading this positivity and this support system, because there are a lot of people that might sign up for a course. They might buy a book and it really inspires them and they're motivated. But there's something about that challenge of remaining consistent and following through. That's why we're looking to build this global movement of support, that we're together throughout the year, and we start the next year together and we grow, and we have experts around us like you who have powerful tools and resources. And so that's what it's about. That's what it's about. And that's what people can do. Join in. You can be someone who's a professional who joins our community and offers up your expertise at our events. You can be someone at home who just wants to listen and learn and grow. We have a community full of passionate experts, and they love adding value and pouring into people. And when they see you there on the Zoom screen, it encourages them. This is what they desire to do. So there's room in our community for everyone. Come host an event, come present at an event, come and listen. And let the presenters know that you appreciate what they're doing. So there's something for all of us.
What does the future look like for you?
Wow. So the future looks like in several months, we're hosting this global event And then every year thereafter, we plan to host this event, a week-long event. We incorporate an opening music concert, a closing quantum healing concert. We offer all different types of modalities. We offer you a plethora of ways that you can remain in a positive mindset, that you can grow, develop emotionally, physically, spiritually. That's why it's such a large event, because we want to show you a huge array of just wellness and love, right? And then that's annually every September. But then what we're looking to do now is have an international wellness alliance. We have all of these wellness focused organizations that are coming together, and we're going to work together throughout the year. And yes, we'll always come together for this annual 7-day event, but we're going to be working together throughout the year. There's power in numbers so that we can continue to increase our community, broaden our reach. So it's really incredible, the organizations that are coming together. We're getting away from that idea of competition. Yes, I might cook toast and you might cook toast, but there's enough people in the world that we could, share ideas and collaborate and connect, get more toast out to the whole world. So that's what's happening.
Oh, I love that. So Elaine, how do our listeners and our viewers actually get in touch with you or involved in your amazing work?
Yes. So you can email me at synergy@themapsevent.com. You can also find me under Elaine Sugar on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest. Elaine Sugar, ELAINESUGAR.
Woohoo. Alrighty. And so, Elaine, what would you say to somebody who isn't positively priming themselves yet?
I was thinking about this in preparing for the interview, and I'm like, what is it that I love about Positive Prime? So I think the word all right is one of those words that it very much depends on how you say it. Like somebody asks you, how did you like it? Oh, it's all right. So here's the thing. I mean, all right. Okay. So here's what Positive Prime does for me. It reminds me that things are all right. Like things are all right. I look at these images. I listen to this music. I read these affirmations, and it's like things are all right. You may have difficult moments, but at the end of the day, things are all right. And then I think about my goals and aspirations, and I watch a session and I'm like, okay, I might not be exactly where I want to be, but I'm going to get there. This is doable. And that's all right. So yeah, it helps me feel all right in the moment. But then it's like, it may not be working out the way I want it to exactly, but I'm on my way to that place. And that's all right. Like, this is all right. I love it. Makes me feel better now and about the future. And then the icing on the cake is it's something that adults and children can both benefit from. I love that because, again, you helped me with my homework. People were asking me, what are you going to do for adults? You're so focused on children. Well, guess what? Now we get them both. And my mother used to say, killing two birds with one stone, right? But this time we're uplifting two birds, right? At the same time. I love that. And I love the fact that you focused on family and that when you get one subscription, there's 4 more that you can give away. I mean, I love that. And the opportunity to personalize it so children can put things in there that they can relate to, things that they desire. You just helped me tremendously. So people ask me, what are you doing for families? Positive Prime. What are you doing for kids? Positive Prime.
I absolutely love it. I love that you say it's all right. It's funny because I use it in a kind of similar way sometimes. I might be thinking about what is it that I have to do, right? So what's my next best move as I'm focused on getting something solved or making progress in a particular area. It doesn't matter what it is, right? I'm very intentional as a human being. Yes. I'm always thinking, even if I go to a social event, how is it that I want others to feel as a result of my presence? Who am I showing up as? Anyway, I'm watching Positive Prime, and oftentimes I'll have this incredible inspiration. Now, because I know that I'm in a state where I'm more connected to the quantum field or the divine. I know that the ideas that spring up whilst I'm viewing a session are in fact ideas that are guidance, and they're the signs about what's the very next thing I could or would or should be doing, and how quickly can I get that done. And so I've actually learned that it's in that state where the sparks of creativity have a ripple effect, a real ripple effect, right? It's that action is worth a 10x. I could take action. I know that, there are beautiful people like Bruce Lipton or the late Wayne Dyer used to say, every action you take with real intention that's inspired by something very pure and divine has a ripple effect that's much greater than an action that's just like, oh, yeah, whatever. The reality is, for me, it's just an enabler. Elaine, what are some of the things that you want the viewers and the audience, the listeners, what is it that you want them to know about themselves or about life or about the planet or about the future or about the past?
Yeah, I would say just know that positivity is a journey. It doesn't look the same way all the time. All of the roads and all of the paths don't all have roses aligned on both sides of the street, right? So just know that some days you're in a different place, but you keep moving forward. So people say, well, you talk about positivity all the time. So what about when you don't feel like being positive? I said, okay, respect that and go to that place, but treat it like a hotel. You can check in, but you don't live there. That's the thing. You don't live there. So I use this as an example to people. Say, all right, my mother passed away during the COVID shutdown. She was in a nursing home in a different state. So I wasn't allowed to go and see her because nursing homes were not allowing people to come visit. And even my family that lived there had to watch her through a window. They didn't actually go in and have contact with her. So I watched her burial on Zoom. There is no part of me that wanted to say goodbye to her in that way. So we are having realistic conversation. This is not positivity, rah, rah, rah. This is real stuff. So I felt sadness. I cried. My mother didn't raise me, make the sacrifices she did for me so that I could go in depression after she passed away and sit in my room and forget about life. So I had those moments. I may have those moments every now and then. Something may remind me of her. But overall, I'm focusing on the gifts she gave me, focusing on the dreams and the desires and the success that she wanted me to see. That's why she sacrificed for me, not so I could, go in a corner and wilt away when she passed away. This was so once she was gone, I could prosper. So she did a beautiful job, and I honor her memory by treating people the way she's taught me to treat them and to do well for the situations and the people that I can. So you have those emotions, you experience different parts of your journey, but you keep moving forward. You keep moving forward.
Oh, I love that, Elaine. There's actually quite a lot being written and researched about toxic positivity, which is really I suppose it's the neglect for the variety of emotions that we experience. And you're absolutely right. I used to be the kind of person who would experience maybe hours of discomfort or disillusionment or disengagement or whatever it is. And now they're really actually fleeting moments. I have so many resources and so many tools, and I've got this muscle memory now for positivity, right? And so I too am challenged. I too have my heart broken. I too am angered. I just don't stay there very long, right? And so I'll give you an even better hotel idea. In Singapore airport, there is a transit hotel. So in between two aeroplanes, right, you can go in for just a nap for an hour or just a shower to refresh yourself. And so I would say check into the transit hotel, right? There's no overnights needed.
Yes,
right?
I love it.
And then get yourself on a new, whatever you want to call it, airplane or rocket ship, and go to a new destination. And I think that what I would love for everybody to hear is that who you're being, Elaine, is so important to the entire world. And for those of you who are listening and viewing this, you too are so important to the entire world. And what you can do to come and collaborate with us and co-create with us more positivity is a really profound contribution. So who you are is really significant, and we invite you to spread positivity and to positively prime yourself every single day so that that's easier for you, right? And know that that's actually the big work of our time. Elaine, thank you for being you, and thank you for being a part of our community, and thank you for being such a beautiful and extraordinary leader, and thank you to your parents and the people who helped shape them so that they could be who they are. And maybe as we leave, think about who you are. I'm speaking to all of you who are listening and viewing. Think about yourself as the person who's influencing Elaine's parents, because you'll actually be an influence creating an impact in another human being who will give birth to an Elaine Sugar, who will go on to actually create even greater impact on the planet. Just be mindful of who you are and who you're being and how it is that you are helping all of us to grow in positivity. We love you. We really do. Elaine, is there something that you would like to leave everybody who's listening and viewing with?
Yes, I would absolutely like to leave everyone with a vote of confidence in the fantastic work you are doing at Positive Prime. If I didn't mean it, you couldn't pay me $1 million to say it. I have shared it with my family, with the children in my program who they have my hearts. So again, I could use $1 million for sure. You couldn't pay me $1 million to say it. The work that you are doing is phenomenal. I absolutely love it. And I cannot thank you enough for it. And also thank you so much for supporting our wellness community and being the very first presenter last year. You kicked us off at some odd hour of the morning. And I always say when someone is more established in their profession and in their career, and they take time to help someone else who's just starting out, it really, to me, speaks volume about their character. So thank you so much for supporting, and thank you for the work that you do. I love you. Thank you.
It's a love fest. I hope that everybody here has been feeling that energy. It's for you to let that be the wave, right? Let that be what we spread. It's so worthwhile. And just in case some of you are wondering, it's been proven that when you are in this state of being that is positive, there's actually a chemical cocktail that's created inside your body. That emotional state is creating a kind of, I want you to imagine it's like a swimming pool. Inside your body, you're about 70% water or thereabouts. And every cell is being bathed in that which is life affirming, that which is healing, that which is repairing and replenishing, that which is rejuvenating, that which is actually life-giving. And it allows you to go out there and have more fun and be more playful, and for you to experience more of your own life, and for you to actually have your own dreams become reality. And so that positivity is actually one of the very, very best things you can do for your physical wellness. And that's why I'm absolutely 1,000,000,000% in support of the work that Elaine and her colleagues are doing. And we're inviting you to really turn the volume up on this, amplify it, right? This stuff is really important. It's really, really, really important. And it's so simple and easy for you to make a really huge contribution, being positively primed and being positive and going out and telling everybody just how powerful positivity is. We love you. Bye.